Well, most of you know me. My name is Graham, and I'm a father to 3 adult sons. Now, my involvement in my boy's life started right from the outset. My wife and I had a deal. She'd look after the input end, I would look after the output end. And I tell you, even to this day, it takes an awful lot to gross me out. Okay. But one thing we were very keen to do, and that was to inculcate a Christian culture into our boys. And actually, that started before they were born. I remember placing my hand on my wife's abdomen, and I was like, "Hey, dude, listen up. This is your father speaking." and then I blessed him, right there in the womb. When they were born, we established a nighttime, well, I was going to say a ritual, more of a habit. Every night before we put them to bed, there'd be a Bible story, and I would pray for them. And it got such a habit that one time I forgot. I forget why. Maybe it was just time pressure or something. But the boys were like, "No, Dad, we can't go to sleep yet. You haven't given us a Bible story. You haven't prayed for us." Okay. Today, all 3 of those boys are born again and active in their respective churches. And even today, I still pray for them. I remember something my mum once said to me. She said to me, "Graham, I know you're married, I know you've got kids of your own, but you're still my little boy, and I still worry about you." Same with my adult sons. I still worry about them. I still pray for them. Not every night now, but still occasionally, and as they come to mind. As the boys approached school age, I was struck by so we made the decision to homeschool them. Now, that was a difficult thing to see through. And let's be honest, that's not for everyone. But there are advantages and disadvantages to both options. But for us, the advantages of homeschooling far outweigh the disadvantages. It gave me the opportunity to teach the boys things like critical thinking skills, how to recognize logical fallacies. And today, they follow Christ because of their own decision, not because their parents are Christians. The other thing I wanted for my boys was to teach them how to be masculine men. Unfortunately, today's culture doesn't have any much of an idea of what it means to be biblically masculine. 6 godly men, masculinity. And I was delighted when they these, not mine. Made quite a few mistakes along the way. But I rest in this. Greatness is not evidence of mistakes, but in how we handle them. To get down on their level occasionally and apologize to them for my mistakes. So there's a challenge, guys. Are you humble enough to apologize to your children if you need to? I'll finish with this last point. I want grandchildren one day.
13-year-old. So why my dad made the choices that he made, especially as a solo dad. I honestly thought me working at the government as a public servant was the hardest job. But at least my daily paid job give me training, SOPs to guide me how things are done to help you get out of trouble. Because not the daddy-o. It's definitely one of the hardest things I ever have to do. It's not until you get to experience it yourself that the joy and emotion for when each kid arrive in this crazy world that we live in. Most of all, the rewarding feeling that having to achieve something that you never had the training on how to do it. None of them came out with a manual or an SOP. None of them talked to you for a good 1 to 2 years with proper words. You quickly had to learn the 3 different cries as when they're a baby. First thing, hungry. Second, need a nappy change or sleepy. And it's constantly, that was my 3 go-to, which cry I'm looking for. And, the first 2 probably keep getting messed it up, but probably by the 3rd one, I kind of had like a good idea. Your sense of smell became real professional. Something is up, need a nappy change. So your sense of hearing became bionic, that you could just hear them from a mile away. And it's kind of vice versa. You kind of learn as well when to turn it off. When you go to the shop, Daddy, can I have this? You quickly just turn it off. You're not hearing them. But they sort of play that to you sometimes with the selective hearing. Your ability to save them from harm and catch them before they fall. The quick reflex, the dads. Your sense of sight, know when they're happy, sad, or they're in trouble, or they've done something wrong. I know that they say dad or have natural superheroes because of all of these features. But I believe myself, this is not something you just develop. I think that my kids brought the best out of me to perform them. As a father, I wanted my kids to feel safe to come to me when they need help as well, not just go to mommy. No, I want both, the balance. For me to be an approachable dad, when they're happy and excited, and also at their most vulnerable stage. Our God is a balance of all these things. Book of Psalm 103, verse 13 says, as a father has compassion on his children, so the Lord has compassion on those who fear him. The true strength in fatherhood includes gentleness, compassion, and emotion presence. An encouraging word today to all the fathers, father figures, and let's not forget our solo mothers doing both roles here today. Let's continue to speak life into our children, show them tough love, but that we also gentle and can be emotional. Proverbs 20, verse 7 says, the righteous man walks in his integrity. His children are blessed after him. A father's character leaves a lasting legacy. And then, last verse to finish my small talk is something that I wanted in my house. is Joshua 24, verse 15. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. So we are called to stand firm in faith and lead our families with conviction. But let's lead with integrity, faith, and love. Happy Father's Day. Thank you.
So good. Thank you. Isn't that awesome to hear from our dads, eh? Yeah, good men in the house. You know, if your dad's not here, God puts you in a family. You're in the house, right? This is God's house. God provides for you. I want to thank you guys for sharing about your journey and some of the notes that you brought this morning. I'm going to touch on as well. So guys, I've just got a couple of scriptures, but I just want to add to that because I have a word on my heart for dads this morning. And I want to celebrate, the God-given role of father, because if you're aware, our Heavenly Father is the model of fatherhood. He's what we look to show what fatherhood looks like. And I want to show appreciation to the dads that are in the house that are doing, a great job. I'm sure you don't always feel like you are, but it's a difficult job, right? And every generation needs fathering, so we all need fathering. And I want to challenge us at the end, if that's okay. Okay, as fathers, because we need a challenge. I don't know about you, but I need to be challenged. About how I'm living and what I'm doing. I want to begin this morning by talking from an article from the Institute of Family Studies, and it just talks about the role of a father. Okay, what do fathers do? What do great fathers do? What's the research show us? So I'm just going to read from the article. Fathers foster independence. Research shows that most fathers are particularly skilled at fostering independence in their children, and we've heard that this morning. And these social trends point to why children need positive influence of their father in their lives more than ever. Years of lived experience backed by parenting research teach us that effective nurturing of children requires not only the capacity to hold them close, but also the ability to let them go. Something fathers seem particularly apt in preparing children to do. Research based on observations of mothers and fathers, different psychological dispositions and behaviours in parenting has consistently found that both mothers and fathers influence multiple aspects of child development, but they also do so through different processes. These studies show that fathers seem to be particularly attuned to developing children's physical, emotional, and intellectual independence. We've heard that this morning. And everything from children making their lunches and tying their own shoes to doing household chores and making decisions for themselves after they've left home. Fathers are also more likely than mothers to encourage children to take risks, while also ensuring safety and security, thus helping children develop confidence, navigate new transitions, and bravely confront unfamiliar situations. It is exactly this fostering of independence that is needed in greater supply among the rising generation. Paradoxically, our culture today is one where too many young people are unfortunately undernurtured in fractured families, while others are over-nurtured by helicopter parenting and prolonged sheltering. You can see that which piece is the opinion piece there. And it goes on to say, other benefits and positive influences of fathers. The benefits of loving and involved fathers go far beyond simply fostering independence. Research shows that fathers are much more than just a second parent in a child's life. Involved fathers can bring numerous benefits to their children's lives that no other person is likely to bring. Too often as a society, we minimise the virtues and strengths of fathers and the unique role they play in their children's life, despite the significant and growing body of research that shows otherwise. And I could go on there. I'll just pick it up. Here, fathers also play a unique role in the emotional development of their children. When fathers respond to children's emotional distress, they are more likely to focus on fixing the problem than they are addressing the hurt feelings. This seeming addressing the hurt feelings, the seeming indifference to the emotion may not appear nurturing, but becomes very useful as the children grow older. As children tend to seek out and share things with their dads precisely because of their measured problem-solving responses, the indifference actually becomes a strategic form of nurturing in emotionally charged situations. Fathers also make unique contributions to children's cognitive development, with an involved father identified as the strongest predictor of college graduation. This is partly because involved fathers are more likely to help with homework and provide financial support. But it's also the case that involved fathers effectively monitor and guide their children's actions, helping them to succeed. The end. Isn't that good? Look, I just wanted to read that because I think, sometimes society says some different stuff, and doesn't always celebrate men, but, we want to celebrate men and women, because you guys have a vital role in the children's lives. And if you're a father figure or a mother figure, you have an impact. And as I said, you've got a place in the house, you've got something to give and you've got something to receive. And I just want to encourage those people that don't have a father in their life. God is your father. And he says in his word that though father or mother forsake you, I will never forsake you. God is always there, and he's your father. And he says in his word that he places the solitary in families. So if you're by yourself, welcome to the family of God. Welcome to the house of God. You have a family that loves you here. God's provided for you. And the last thing I want to say on that note is trust God to supplement what you didn't get. So sometimes you can think, I didn't get this in my life, I didn't get that thing. Well, God will supplement that stuff. You know what a supplement is? We take supplements if we've got a gap in our diet, we've got some nutritional need. Well, God supplements us in the house. So you have fathers here, you've got mothers here, you've got aunties and uncles, funny uncles, strange aunties or whatever. We're in the house of the Lord. We're all part of that beautiful family of God. So isn't that good? So the couple of scriptures I've got, we're going to turn to Hebrews 12. And we're going to look at verses 3 to 11, okay? Yeah. And isn't it funny, sometimes in the cult, we can look back and we think the good old days of fathering was back in the past, and sometimes we can look and say the bad old days were back in the past, right? Because sometimes we have a dad that's good in a lot of respects, and sometimes we have a dad that doesn't model good fatherhood. But we still learn from it, don't we? And God's still with us. We learn a lot of things about having our father in our lives, and God is teaching us. So I just want to read from. I don't have slides this morning, but I want to read from Hebrews 12, okay? From verse 3. Consider him who endured such opposition from sinners, that's Jesus, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. In your struggle against sin, you have not yet resisted to the point of shedding blood. And you have completely forgotten this word of encouragement that addresses you as a father addresses his son. It says, "My son, do not make light of the Lord's discipline. Do not lose heart when he rebukes you. Because the Lord disciplines the one he loves, and he chastens everyone he accepts as a son. Endure hardship then as discipline. God is treating you as his children. For what children are not disciplined by their father? If you are not disciplined and everyone undergoes discipline, then you are not legitimate, not true sons and daughters at all. Moreover, we have all had human fathers who disciplined us, and we respected them for it. How much more should we submit to the Father of spirits and live? They disciplined us for a little while as they thought best, but God disciplines us for our good." Say, my good. My good. "In order that we may share in his holiness." Okay? God's got something for you. And he's wanting to get that to you, right? He's preparing you. We heard about that this morning, the aspect of fathers that have a preparatory part to their fatherhood. They're trying to prepare you for the world out there, right? They're trying to prepare you for your future. And that's what God does for us. He wants us to share in his holiness. He's got something for us. And so that's why the discipline, right? And we all have a different idea of what discipline means. We understand that discipline is a good thing when we're trying to train for sports and things like that. We have a good connotation of that word. We think, wow, that's a commendable thing. And then sometimes when we think discipline, we think of like some sort of abuse or something like that, right? But, you know, discipline is good in parenting. It's really important that we discipline our kids, and everyone's got a different way. You know, you as a parent will have, you've got different kids that you'll discipline differently because that's what they need. That's their personality, right? And I know from parents have different responses, and that's okay. So there's not just one way to discipline, is there? So, you know, we've got to do that, but we've got to discipline, and it's for their good, isn't it? Yeah, we know it's for kids' good. It's not because you hate your kids. No. So God doesn't hate you. How much more does God love you, right? So that's for your good. And I just want to say too to everyone, really, Dad's got a way of disciplining that is good too, right? So sometimes the society doesn't celebrate Dad's discipline, or we talk about toxic masculinity, right? I don't hear toxic femininity, do we? We don't hear about, you know, women being toxic, you know, and I'm sure it's just another type of thing. But, you know, obviously there's abuses and things. We don't want to go there, but Dad has a way of disciplining that Mum doesn't have, right? Can we agree on that one? Yeah. And so it's important that we have both in our society, right? Because when your kids grow up, they've got to deal with men and women, don't they? Yep, that's good. So sometimes in a culture we conflate those two things, right? So male disciplining is different, and it's good for your kids. My dad wasn't a Christian, but he disciplined me in good ways. You know, I had to mow the lawn about 7 times because I missed all the bits. You know, we didn't have a weed whacker, and so I'd have to sort of put the lawnmower right in the corners, and so he would make me do it again and again and again until I did it right. And that's a good lesson, isn't it? If I was running late, my dad would take off in his car. Mum would sort of like, you know, say, oh, come on, and do that. So I knew I could kind of take my time, but like I knew when Dad took off, he was gone. So I would miss that car if it went at that time. So he was teaching me a lesson that I really needed to be on time for stuff, because I still struggle with that actually, but I needed that, right? So those lessons are always good, and you know, sometimes we have a bad experience, but actually some sort of discipline is good, and it's important for our kids, right? So God's given dads a different sort of wisdom and a different role, right in doing that. And obviously those things overlap. And mum and dad are complementary in that, aren't they? That's kind of why I kind of like my wife and I doing pastoring, because I sort of feel a little bit like that, to be honest. You know, we look at things differently, you know. I kind of look at you a little bit as my kids, and there's some naughty ones in the back there, but no, but we're all good. We're all good. So yeah, love you guys, and so I just wanted to encourage you with that. Okay, so dads are really important, and really proud of you guys. My last scripture and my point, I want to challenge us from the book of 2 Samuel. So one of the dads in the Bible is King David. Okay, and we're going to just look at him. So if you've got your Bibles there, 2 Samuel chapter 11, verses 1 and 2. Okay, so this is our challenging part, right? So I'm just going to read verses 1 and 2. In the spring, at the time when kings go off to war, David sent Joab with the king's men and the whole Israelite army. They destroyed the Ammonites and besieged Rabbah, but David remained in Jerusalem. So the Bible is trying to tell us something. The author here is trying to point something out to us, right? There's a time in the spring when kings go off to war. So the place of the king was to lead his troops, wasn't it? So the king was going into war. And that was a set time. And what did David do? He stayed at home. And the translation says he's on the couch or he's on his bed. So, you know, as men, we don't want to sit on the couch when we're supposed to be fronting our families, when we're supposed to be leading our family to the house of the Lord and our parenting. So there's a time to front up, that God front up, and sometimes, you know, you can get a bit tired, or there's reasons why, you know, you don't want to be involved, but God's wanting you to front up. Is that all right? For your parenting. And verse 2 says, one evening David got up from his couch and walked around on the roof of his palace. From the roof he saw what? He saw a woman bathing, and the woman was very beautiful. You know, God's got a place for you and something for you to do. And if we're not doing what God's called us to do, we get in trouble, don't we? When we sit on the couch not doing too much, you know, something comes, temptation comes. Okay? So your place at night is next to your wife. Okay? You should be in the bed with your wife, not looking at a screen. Okay? Is that good? So you don't do that. You need to be next to your wife in that bed. That's the place for you. God's place for you is leading your kids to church. You know, in this, Joab was a good warrior. He was perfectly capable, and he led the Israelites to victory, didn't he? And in the same way, you know, your wife can take the kids to stuff. Your wife can go and take the kids to events and do their spiritual upbringing. They're perfectly capable, but you are supposed to be leading that, right? With your wife. Okay? We're supposed to be where we're supposed to be. And if we end up on the couch, we end up sort of lying around in bed, you know, that's not good. That's not God's plan for you. Okay? So you're leading your family to church, because what happens is your kids will go, oh, Dad's just keeping Mum happy. Hey, Dad's just keeping Mum happy because he's just going along, but actually really, behind the scenes, he's not living for God, right? Your boys will figure that out. And they're looking to you as an example. And your girls. What's your example? How are you going to front up? Because it's more than what you say, it's what your kids observe you doing. Okay, so if you want to, you have to live for God if you want your kids to live for God. Is that good? It's got quiet, but we need to hear that, don't we? So that the kids read the attitude. Okay, so don't go AWOL. You're in God's army. You're not given license to go AWOL. Okay, that's absent without leave. God has not dismissed you. So David did many great things, but he left things undone, didn't he? And one of those things you can see here, he failed to front up to lead where he was supposed to be, and he failed to discipline his sons, didn't he? And if you know the story about David, lots of trouble happened in that family, and David refused to discipline his sons, to put them right, even correct them, even say as the king. And so that spelt disaster for the family. And I think I feel for David because his background, he was that little shepherd boy that was out when he grew up, wasn't he? All the brothers sort of lined up, who's going to be king? And the dad assembled them there, and they were all lined up, and the prophet went along and no, none of those. And have you got anyone else? And David was in the back blocks, wasn't he, looking after the sheep? He wasn't even considered. So I wonder if that impacted David's fatherhood. I wonder if he thought, when I'm a father, I'm not going to treat my kids like that. I'm not going to be unkind to my kids. And maybe he didn't want to, because he loved them so much, he didn't want to discipline them, right? So we don't know what went into his background. But we've got to discipline. And God's discipline is an expression of his love, and our discipline should be an expression of our love, right? Because we want our kids to go in the right direction. Is that good? Yeah, so God bless you. I just wanted to bring you that and to challenge you that, because we celebrate fathers, but we also, as men, we kind of want to have a bit of a standard. We want to be encouraged to come higher, don't we? Yeah, I know I do. If we could bring the band up, if you guys can jump up, that would be marvellous. So we're going to finish there. But we're going to provide you a time for prayer, okay? So if you would like prayer, we always make the altar available. Please come down, and we would love to pray for you. And then we're going to have some morning tea and some fellowship together. We've got some beautiful things. We've got some moustaches, if you lack a moustache. We've got some Father's Day backgrounds. So get some photos with your family, with your father figures if you want, and you can do that when the kids come back. Who's challenged by that this morning? Anyone challenged? You don't have to say which part you were challenged by. That's fine. But you've got a place, and when our men are strong, our families are going to be strong, right? And we don't have to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. We just have to be, we have to have integrity. We have to have the character of God, don't we? Yeah, so God bless you. Guys, if we can just have some worship song, whatever one you've prepared is fine. And let's stand and let's worship together. And let's honour God. If you would like prayer, come down. If you want to grab some morning tea,